Generally, I do my podcasts without glasses because I can't see without my glasses. I am not that blind. But today, I'm just like very tired. So I was just like, either I'm going to see 4 of Sarah or I'm going to wear my glasses today. I feel that's the safe options. Luckily, 90% of the people that listen to us and they don't see us.
That's okay. I think we'll get away with it. I have one of those mornings where you wake up and you're like, do I have to get dressed? Do I have to do things today? Can I just read a book all day in my pajamas?
About that this morning. I had 3 alarms. I still didn't want to give up.
So yeah, I'm just drinking water today. But I did bring my sourdough bread.
What's on it? Nothing.
Butter.
No, I didn't see the butter.
I mean, it's really good moist sourdough bread. I've gotten really good at sourdough.
Oh, you made it.
Yes, I love sourdough. I've learned how to do German sourdough and all kinds of different kinds of sourdough. So
yeah, I always watch the Great British Bake Off show, Paul Hollywood's favorite challenge that he does because he is so good in it. I almost want to say he knows what he does when he works with bread. I'm like, that looks like difficult. That looks like work. One day when I'm a grown-up, I will do that.
Well, there's a reason you don't see sourdough bread on any baking shows because this does have a total of 10 hours of raise time.
That's a little long. Well, I have, in South Africa, we call it 5 roses because it's black tea, basically. But we call it 5 roses because that's the brand and we like our brand. So that's what I'm drinking today. Alrighty, are we ready to get into this episode?
I think so.
Alrighty, let's do this. Hello everyone, and welcome to Tea and Tales. I'm Madeleine now.
And I'm Sarah Sampson. We want to thank everyone for tuning in each week. We especially want to thank Anina Steinberg and Rachel L. Crittenden. If I pronounce your name wrong, I'm really sorry. Just correct me in the comments. Today we have our last author spotlight of season 2.
Can you believe it? It's crazy how time flies.
But don't worry, we have a season 3 coming and we have some great things planned. As for today, we're going to be speaking with author Mary Seifert. Welcome to Tea and Tales. We're so excited to have you here, mostly because you're cozy mystery and we have not had a cozy mystery author on yet.
Yay! I love cozies. I love all mysteries, so it's good.
Yeah, cozy mysteries is fun because I always feel like it's just a very comforting read. Whether I'm having a great day or whether I'm having a bad day, I can pick it up and read it and it will have a happy ending in some sort of way.
Yes.
I mean, someone does die, whoops. But, you know, the murderer always gets caught and it's always fun to go on the journey of the main character and kind of figure out the crime with them. Like, I always love that type of writing. And I think I actually beta read one of your novels. I think it was the 5th one. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, and that was quite fun to read. I was just like getting to know Katie and Maverick, and that was a lot of fun. So, oh, mommy.
Oh my goodness. Who's that adorable puppy? That's
my dog. Yep, that's my dog. He's the inspiration. Actually, the second dog, the one that we had after Maverick, because Maverick has passed away, is even more of an inspiration because he is all over the place.
So cute.
Yep.
Well, so you were a math teacher, correct?
I was a math teacher a long time ago, but I was a math teacher, yes.
Yeah, and I think because Katie is also a math teacher in the novel, our previous episode that we talked about like writing what you know, which is, I think, always a great starting point when you do write novels, is to actually write from what you know. But how did this series come about?
Was walking around a slough near my home with my dog, and off around one of the trees, I saw an old car, and it had weeds growing through the trunk and the windows. And I thought, there's got to be a dead body in there. So I thought I should write a story about this slough and a car that had a dead body in it. And that's what kind of led to part of the first novel, Maverick Movies and Murder. However, what really started it was this book. It says unsinkable drinking, dining, and style on the Titanic, because the first book was originally supposed to be called The Titanic Cocktail. I had written a book designed around a premiere for another Titanic movie. And it served a cocktail very similar to the cocktail that they served in first class the night the Titanic went down. It was called Punch a la Romaine. It was an icy drink, but I made mine blue because, the icy water, and it had an Italian ice in it. And it was lovely to drink. It was horrible to make. A little while after we taste tested the cocktail and decided this was absolutely what we wanted, we figured out that Dairy Queen ice cream works just as well as the Italian ice. But you can have the cocktail. It looks like, it's a blue drink with ice cream in it. So that was kind of the basis for the first story, those two parts of it. Also, at that time, women were not given a lot of credit when it came to solving those problems, like the Code Girls, basically back in World War I and World War II. Katie's first love was as a mathematical cryptanalyst. When life didn't work out the way she wanted, she became a high school math teacher instead.
I love that complicated background and motivation. I love it.
So those three parts were what brought the story together for me.
You just released a new novel in your series, which is called Juleps, Jockeys, and Justice. What is juleps, though?
A mint julep is a cocktail. There is a cocktail in every book. This one is a mint julep, and those are the drinks that they serve at the Kentucky Derby. So the books that I've written happen every month of the school year. She's a teacher, so the first book happens in September. The second book happens in October. The ninth book happens in May, which is the time of the Kentucky Derby. And they're having a Kentucky Derby party because there are a lot of mathematical nuances that you can add to a Kentucky Derby. There's the gait of the horse, the speed of the horse, the height of the horse. There's the feed. There's the economics that's revolving around horse racing everywhere. So I use that as part of what I wanted to have the kids learn, because she's got her students. And then we also have, of course, a murder that Katie has to solve with Maverick.
Of course, there has to be one.
I just love this. The fact that you really thought this through when you started writing the series, because you're like, yep, we're starting in September and then we're going from there. I can never look at your books the same way again.
So now we have murders happening every month of the year in this little town.
So everybody's going to know someone's going to die next month. Who's it going to be? I feel like we are in March right now. So I feel like I have to read your seventh novel then. So what do we have in March?
Spring break in Minnesota happens in March. So Katie and her kids are on spring break, and it is called Creeps, Cash, and Corpses. And it happens in my hometown.
So do you actually come up with the titles of your novels, or is it something that you and your publishers work on?
My publisher is the one who usually decides on the title of the books that we have published. I've been really lucky because she said, the first one was what I wanted it to be called was Titanic Cocktail. And I had written the second and third. The second was Titanic Tea. The third was Titanic Trial. And they wisely said, if you have Titanic in the title, people immediately go to 1912. And that makes them historical. They are not. They are contemporary. So we flipped that out of there. And because they were cozy, part of that trope was the alliteration in the titles. I hope to have all 26 letters.
It would be a challenge, but also like super cool if you pull it off. All these little Easter eggs in your novels, and that's my favorite part about reading is if you read it once and you love it, but you realize when you read it again, you catch new things because now you're acclimated to what's going on. That is my favorite part about both writing and reading, is being able to put things like that in and being able to just engage your audience that way. As you're writing this latest novel, what was the most challenging thing for you to do?
The hardest part about doing the Juleps, Jockeys, and Justice was that I've never been to the Kentucky Derby and I don't own a horse. But I wanted to do a lot of research with both of them. So I talked to some horse owners. I've talked to some of the people that I know that have been to the Kentucky Derby. I have also talked to someone who has dealt with parimutuel betting, which I thought was an important part of this book for her kids. She was going to teach them how that worked. That kind of gave me some of that mathematical knowledge to put in to the book. So that was the part that I was remiss when I started. I didn't have that information. And I wanted to make sure I got it right, because online, you can get all kinds of things online that aren't really true.
Yeah, That's why it's always nice when you actually know someone who knows the business or the industry or the tactic of doing something.
My mother-in-law actually went to the Kentucky Derby. She has loved the Kentucky Derby since 1952 when they lived in Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
And at the back of the book, the mint julep recipe is her recipe.
Oh, that's so fun. I love that you're talking about how these real life people are influencing the book, because we do have a lot of real life people in our lives who always encourage us, who give us motivation, who give us inspiration. Do you have people who significantly have influenced your writing?
The writing part, the actual, the business of writing, that goes to all those beta readers and all the helpers that I've had along the way. I have some friends who have read every single book when it was in its roughest form. I get such interesting comments from both the male and the female. They're so different and they're both so important. From the females, I get the more of the feeling, more of the color, more of the picture. And for the male, I get those facts. For one of the books, Katie was locked in the back of a trunk of a car. And he said, did you know there's a trunk release in all of those cars? And he gave me the date. I looked it up. So I just changed the date of the car. I could do that. But it was like, holy cow, I would never have thought that. And I really appreciate that. And that goes for so many people. As far as the characters themselves, Ida Klemaszewski, that is Katie's landlady. She is a takeoff on my mother-in-law and her mother. They were both very small, big people. They were called, my mother-in-law was called the Little General. She was under 5 feet. She was just powerful and this big personality. And that is Ida to me.
Oh, I love that. I think that is the nice part of writing, is that whether it is someone who has wronged you in your life or someone that you really do love and appreciate, it's always so nice when you can go back to novel and feel that nostalgia and feel that warmth or that hatred, whichever way you want to go. So I always say I write for revenge, because I'm like, those people who did me wrong, you shall appear in my novel. So have you always enjoyed cozy mystery? Like, was that something that you grew up reading, or like what kind of brought you into wanting to write mystery?
I had a grandfather who absolutely loved every kind of mystery, and I could go to his little library, and as long as I returned the books, I could take any book out that I wanted. So I read thrillers and I read cozies and I read whatever he had. Nancy Drews he had there for all of his grandchildren. My mother loved mysteries. I think she got that from her father. And she gave that love of mystery to me. And I just loved every kind of mystery. I loved that puzzle part of the book itself, of the story itself. My dad told notorious stories. They were all real life stories, but nobody would ever recognize them. So I hope I got a little bit of the storytelling from him. I didn't ever like writing about the actual crime itself. That was really hard. So mystery let me have everything except the actual act itself. And then I have, the romance happen someplace else. There could always be somebody there, but it was often happening off the page. Although I'm tending towards being a thrilling cozy, just on the edge on some of those. They are a little bit lighter, and the cozy was easier for me myself. Although I read them, sometimes I cringe. You hide under the covers and you like when you read them, but this one you don't have to.
So at the moment I'm writing a romance suspense, and generally I write contemporary romance. So even though I love like watching crime shows and I love reading mysteries and things like that, I have had a hard time taking the reader on the journey as the murder or crime scene or whatever occurs. So how do you approach writing your mysteries, and how you connect all these little plot lines of the murder to, one, have the reader follow along, but also two, have them enticed to want to read more and not disappoint them?
I really wanted her background in puzzle solving to be part of that mystery part of it. I was a teacher. I have lots of stuff. I have a puzzle wheel, which would be what was used in the first book. So other people can look at that mystery, look at that cryptoquip in the first book and go, I can read that. I can figure that out. People that do crypto quips in the newspaper can go, I can figure that out too. I might have a little twist on it, so they might have to wait until Katie gives a clue, but they could go back and solve that puzzle themselves. In book number 3, I used a puzzle wheel. I try them all out on my own, so I make sure that they work okay. But then I have things that people can solve on their own. In book number 4, I use a musical cryptography. And for people that are interested in music, it was a way that composers gave messages to their audience, and they could be just signing their name, like Bach would sign his name with a B flat A C B, and everybody who saw that would go, oh, that was Bach. But some of these composers actually wrote, longer messages to people that were important in their lives, or maybe people they wanted to get rid of. I'm not sure.
I mean, we are mystery. And now I want to hand your book to my husband, who's a cryptologist, and say, ooh, you're going to really love this. You can work through the puzzles as it goes through the book.
This is another one. I loved research. So Code Girls is a book, and it's about all those women code breakers from World War II. And every book that I write has a mention of one of them. So Katie has had them in her life, so she can go, this reminds me of, and then I can give a little history, a little snippet that was important to me, because I think that's what Katie went through in her quest to become a cryptanalyst. But beware, in the translation of the novels from sending it from my Mac to someplace else, there's some auto-correcting that was done that wasn't supposed to be correcting.
Since I write fantasy, I come up with my own names and my own naming structures sometimes. And it'll be like, why do you have these weird marks all over the places? That's my new culture. I'm sorry. I can see how that would happen with things like cryptology language that doesn't match your normal algorithms.
They changed a couple words. The first, I think it was one of the scenes where Katie's writing the information on the blackboard for the kids, and the first 3 words are correct, and the end of that sentence in the novel that was published are not. And so we did talk about it with the publisher. I said, can we ever fix that? She said, yes, when we do another printing. But you got to be out there for a while before you do another printing.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It does work out. I've checked them. But that one was really kind of fun. I got a letter, an email from a reader, and she said, I can't get this one to work. And I went, I can't either.
So is that something that you now pay attention to, and they send you the print copy to check everything that you go through and make sure all that stuff didn't get shifted?
Yes. Especially anything that wasn't the way we would spell something, or everything to do with the puzzle. So I was just so surprised.
Well, you don't think about it because you think, okay, I've written it, I've corrected all the words or the spelling. You would just assume that that's the way it's going to stay up until the end. A lot of times I have like Afrikaans words in my novels, and I'm just like, now I feel I have to go check everything.
Something in that dictionary that you can put on your Mac, you put it in the dictionary, and it's a misspelled word for this particular book, and you don't want it misspelled every other time, because it would not show up as misspelled. So you have to be really careful.
It's the tiny little things. So
yes, it is.
You got yourself a publisher.
Columbine Publishing Group, and it's the Secret Staircase imprint, which is their mystery imprint.
Okay. What made you decide to find a publisher instead of getting yourself an agent and then going to the publishing and things like that?
I was looking for an agent for a while, and I do have enough rejections to wallpaper a small bathroom. And I'd written more for myself, but I really thought that they might be fun for somebody else to read. There was a call out for a cozy mystery series that already had 3 books written, and it fit that call out. They said, we like this, but can we change the title of the book? Absolutely. The second thing they asked was, can we change some of the character names? Because little did I know, if you have a Kennedy, Kathy, Katie, Carney, Colleen, all in the same book, it can be confusing. So we changed some of the names. I looked at them as each individual character, but if somebody's reading my novel for the first time, they don't have that history with that character. And so I did need to change those names. It was 15,000 words too long. So can we cut 15,000 words? And we did. So I was really, really lucky that they liked the story and that they took a chance with me. They've been wonderful to work with and helpful, and they know how to do things, and I just ask questions.
Sometimes we feel like when we're trying to get published that you're trying to get that agent. There are publishing houses who will let you directly submit to them. There are ones who won't, who insist on agents only. And having to make that decision of, do I submit to this publishing house and risk an agent later not being able to submit this project to that publishing house, or do I just do it because I feel like I matched them like you did? You really have to know what your book is and what they're looking for.
Yes. And they're not always open. They were open at that time, and I caught it at the moment they were open, and I was able to submit. But it does matter what you want to do, what's the end game. And I'm just having a ball writing and meeting readers, and it's having so much fun.
I actually want to go back to something that you said, because you talked about like having to change names because of similarities that they have. I had the exact same thing happen to me, and so I gave my novel to a a few beta readers, and they were like, okay, these two characters, their names are too similar, so they keep on like switching them up. The difficulty I had to find another name for the character that I already created. I was like, no, it doesn't look like a Michelle. No, doesn't feel like a Bethany. The amount of names I had to go through before it kind of just felt okay to give my character that name. Like, please tell me I'm not the only one.
No, you're not. But it was difficult. But I knew they were right. And your beta readers are right, because if they get confused, it's like that doesn't help your story.
Yeah.
But you learn those characters and you love those characters and you kind of you've developed those characters. You've given them their name. That's why they have that name. So it was, yes, I was there.
I think every author at some point experiences people saying you need to change the names for one reason or another. And one of the things that I decided very quickly was that I could use the name somewhere else. So I didn't get rid of the name if I love the name. I just put it in a box and said, you're going to be a different character now.
I know you can do that, especially with the names that you come up with your world. They are going to be unusual, and you will have a place that you can have them.
Sometimes if you use names from a culture that is less well known in the world, then I've had people say, well, just change it a little bit. I can't, because it's a cultural name from somebody else's culture. I'll do something else, or I'll see if many people have a problem pronunciating this particular name or if they like it. As we're talking about things that people say, hey, you need to change this, or I'm not vibing with that. How do you handle criticism or misinterpretations of your themes or your artistic vision?
I think for cozies, it isn't as deep as it might be if it were a thriller or if it were a romance. We have a murder, I want to solve the murder. And Maverick's going to be a big part in that solution. I think that sometimes when people have a comment that is not the best comment for me, I just have to ignore it, or I just have to put it on the back burner and say, well, as long as there are people that enjoy it, as long as people are liking it, then I'm doing what I want to do for somebody. I did get a lovely card from a woman, and this is why I keep it on my desk. This is why I continue to write. She said, congratulations on your book, Maverick, Movies and Murder. It has saved me late at night. I'm really enjoying all the characters. And it was a thank you for a sympathy card that I sent her. She's keeping up at night reading, and these were keeping her sane during a very difficult time of that. This is why I keep doing it. So the rest of it is superfluous. If they don't, that's okay. If they choose to like something better, that's good. As long as they keep reading.
I love that. And I think that's why we write, because we don't need millions of people to read our novels. But if you can get that one person that it helps, or that one person it connects with, it makes you keep on writing, because you feel like, it's worth something to someone as well.
Yes.
So how do you feel about reviews? Because we've talked about book reviews in a previous episode, how important it is, what you as a book reviewer basically do, and how you can help authors. Do you ever read like your reviews, or do you just be like, okay, people, can you just give reviews so that my book can go up there and people can recognize it? But you're just like, no, I'm not going to read anything.
I do read them. And I sometimes think, oh, I think I need to not read them for the next couple of days. Or you read one and go, oh, this is just delightful. I hope everybody sees this one. But I know that the reviews trip the algorithms in all of those bookstores. Amazon has so many before it's going to say, if you like this, you're going to like this. So the reviews are important, and they don't always have to be 5-star reviews to actually trip that algorithm. So even a 3-star review is going to help, because people are taking the time to actually write comments, to actually make a statement about the book. You don't want to have a 1 or 2, that it's more difficult that way for our own persona. I think that just reviewing the book itself helps trip those algorithms, and then you get that book title out there. I guess just hang with it.
I feel like you should have like a glass of wine in one hand and like a box of chocolates in the other hand while you're reading them.
Lots of chocolates.
It's so impersonal reading a review online, because you aren't looking at them, they're not looking at you, and so it can come off maybe not the way that they meant to say it, or maybe they say it more harshly than they would if they were in person. But then we have this great opportunity as authors to go to book events, to go to book signings. And you've talked about how much you love interacting with your readers. So tell me a little bit about your favorite part of attending these events and interacting with your readers.
The very first library event that I attended, a man sitting in the front row, he helped build the Grand Coulee Dam. He was an engineer, and he handed me a puzzle, and he said, "Here, you can do this." And I'm standing there in front of all these people going, "No, I can't." So I put it on the desk. I said, "I'll do it afterwards." And I sat there and I gave the talk, and he said, "It makes a pyramid." When we finished the talk, and the woman standing behind him said, "It does not make a pyramid, it makes a tetrahedron." So they had this ongoing, but he was delightful, and I figured out the puzzle. I purchased a bunch of them because I think it's such a cool puzzle. They were just so funny when they were talking to each other, and I think that kind of set the stage. I had so much fun that night. They were so welcoming. They knew it was my first time, and they made it just wonderful. I did a number of other library events, and I have grown to love just the conversation we have and the questions that come up, things that I never think of without somebody saying, "And how did whatever, when did this?" They just have such ingenious questions. I've done some talks at libraries. I've done talks at book clubs. I've been at wineries and breweries, and they're all different. So it's all been fun.
Have you ever had
Oh,
like
that's
a
so
reader come up to you and be like, you know what would be a good mystery for Katie to solve?
Yes.
Have you ever actually like taken one of their suggestions and used it?
No, but I had some questions when I was writing book 8 about felt. There's a piano tuner and she uses felt in the story. And I wanted to understand how strong the felt was. And I was talking to an artist who dealt with fabric art. And she brought this piece of felt up to me. She said, "I got your murder weapon." And we were in a book fair, and it was great. So yes, people do that, and it's been great fun.
Love that. I love when people take like little bits of your novel and they actually incorporate it in a gift that they give you or like a conversation that they have with you.
I'm grasping now. I'm trying to remember who said it. And maybe if you guys have heard this before, you might know who said it. But there was an author who said that after they write the book and publish it, it's no longer their story, it's the reader's story. I think if we keep that mindset, it's like it is now their story to imagine exactly what they think that character looks like and exactly how this is working and to add their own little bits into it so it speaks to them. And that's where you have to really trust your reader and trust them to love the story because it speaks to them, not because of every little bit that you wrote.
Yes, that's very wise.
I never really thought of it that way. What advice would you give to a first time author?
Really, from this experience, if you have a story, you just keep writing that story. It may turn out to be the bestseller. It may turn out to be the book that's in the bottom drawer in your desk, and the bestseller is the next one or the third one. I had a young man walk up to me at a book fair last Saturday, and he had just written his first novel. He has an agent who's shopping it around. He was so excited, and he was a runner. He was actually a runner with my son, and he said, "I know you. I follow you on social media." And then he interviewed me, told me what he was like. "I've seen you run. I'm going to buy your book whenever it's out. It's going to be great." And I know that he's at that stage right now where he has an agent, and they're looking for somebody to publish that book. He's been out for 10 years, and I think it's going to be a hit. You just keep doing what you love, and if you need to write the next one, you need to write the next one.
It's very interesting to me how many times I hear people say, I've been writing for 10 years. I've been writing for 12 years. I've been writing for 15 years. And it takes that long for them to get the craft perfected and to get the agent on board and to get everything together. So I sit here at 7 years and think, I'm all right. I hear a lot of our older writers who feel like I'm too old or it's too late for me, I should just self-publish. What would you say to them?
My first novel came out in 2022. I'd be on the upper side of that 60. There's just never a non-write time. If you want to write, you write, and you just keep doing what you love. C.S. Lewis said something about that you're never too old to dream a new dream, and I just really want to hang on to that. That's always out there, and you just always have that right. You always have that possibility. It might not seem like you have that wide open space to do it for the next 50 years, but you never know what's going to happen next year.
Thank you so much. It is never too late. Start when you're ready to start and just enjoy the journey.
Yep. Even if it's to South Africa or Utah or Minnesota.
Hey, hey.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Mary. We are so happy that we got to talk to you face to face like this, and all the advice that you have given for our viewers has been amazing, and we appreciate it so much.
It was delightful. Thank you very much. I appreciate being allowed to be here. So it's great.
We like to keep things short here on Tea and Tales. Get your fingers back on the keyboard and your pens back on the paper.
And if you like what we're doing here and you like the community that we have created, go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Tea and Tales Podcast, and on Twitter/X and TikTok at Podcast Tea Tales. And go to that purple icon on your device and go give us 5 stars and comments and likes and shares so that we can go up, 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 up to the top.
Happy writing.
Bye.